welcome to the 570 Wrestling Party Pod. This is a shorter form wrestling podcast for awesome people with small attention spans. We believe everyone, no matter how long in the biz, has something valuable and engaging to talk about. And ultimately, it's our goal to help showcase our community. This is the first 570 Party Pod. That is my co-host, Lindsey, the Party Cam Queen. And that is our guest for today, Mr. DQ Dylan Quinn.
Hey, Dylan.
What's up, guys? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and we are going behind the scenes of a first-time wrestling promoter of Phantom 6 Wrestling. Dylan, you got that beautiful banner in the background. You got that beautiful T-shirt.
I wonder where I got this from. I don't
know.
Who gave me that?
Tell us the story quick.
All right, so yeah, let's lead off with that. So it was, Friday night you guys gave this to me?
Yes. Yeah.
And you guys said, I have a surprise for you. In my mind, I automatically thought it was going to be something small. No, I was wrong. It was this big banner.
Does JS Michaels ever do anything small?
That's true. That's very true. But no, you guys surprised me with this, and I remember just like, what? Like, and now it's hanging in my room behind me, and right next to this beautiful poster that I still have.
Absolutely.
And so coming soon to 570 Wrestling Experience on our YouTube channel is going to be On the Road Phantom 6. That is a live shot of Lindsey wearing Jay Bougie's coat, drinking a beer, because that's the kind of things that happen. That we hopefully will have that posted this weekend if I don't run into any technical difficulties. So let's get right into it, Dylan. Lindsey and I, full disclosure, folks, Lindsey and I are real friends with Dylan. We've been we've seen this project through from start to finish. For us, we saw the beginning happen a little bit after our crazy idea to host a show. So Lindsey and I, as 570 Wrestling Experience, hosted Let's Get Smashed at Country Club Brewing shortly after. The idea came from, we were at LVAC's, what was it called? Steel Stack SmackDown 2. And we're like, yo, we got to get these guys to work with Smash.
Yes.
And then we have a brewery in our backyard, right? So started
literally
there. And then the brewery in our backyard became a brewery in the backyard that loves wrestling. And then our show came and went, but somewhere right before we even had our show, I'm going to say April.
Yes.
Dylan, you're like, I got to start having a show. Why don't you tell us about where that idea came from?
Right. So, as you guys said, you've known me since I had this idea, and I actually started a few years ago. But I never pulled the plug on it. I never was like, I'm going to do this. And then you guys, car rides with you guys, I was like, you know what? Do you think I should do this? And you guys were like, yeah. And then it was after Smash Mountain when we had the after party. I forget where that after party was, but I do remember being at the after party with everybody. And I remember just asking everybody, should I do this? Should I do this show for suicide prevention? And everybody at Smash was like, let's do it. Let's make this happen. And I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah, they didn't just support you by saying yes. They supported you by saying, I'll be on this show for you, with you, and we're all about it.
Yeah, no, and everybody was. And I actually, the first person I asked was Ricky Price. And there's a long story that we'll get into about that one. But no, and then after, it was 2 weeks later, I had Battlefield.
We may have lost DQ. It'll just be momentarily before he comes back.
Yeah, you're so professional. Dylan, I'm going to text Dylan and let him know he froze. I think Bella scared him away. So if you can't hear our dog in the background, that's Bella. And anytime Dylan's over our apartment, Bella kind of barks at him almost constantly until she doesn't.
Yes, so. And let me just show you for reference. That is her right here. Oh, she's gone. But while you are doing that, I am going to look for another funny picture of
Sounds good.
Crazy Bella.
And in the meantime, I promised you all a code. And I was supposed to be wearing a different shirt from Country Club when I gave you that code, but I'm going to give it to you now. Your code, if you go to 570wrestlingshop.com for free shipping right now. Whoa. On the new Halloween designs, like Lindsey's wearing. That's the Halloween party cam design. There's also, you should show them. You should show them. At 570 Experience Party Cam in style. You can get one of your own.
Look, it even has bats.
It has bats, and we're getting we're getting like the full description here. Also, we have the new version of this. It's bloodier and more Jason Voorhees than ever, but we're not going to call it the Jason Voorhees thing because we don't want nobody to take it off. And there's Bella when she's in full-on Jason Voorhees mode, yelling at Dylan. That happens.
Or pooping on his blankets.
Or pooping on his blankets. That's a whole different story that we'll get to on a different day, I guess.
This is Bella being proud of who she is.
We're going through some more Bella here. But coming up, while we wait for Dylan to join back, we have New Era Hotel Havoc on September 21st. That's this Saturday. Don't be late for check-in. We will be testing a new concept called the 570 Wrestling Pre-Show, and we're going to be streaming live, and DQ is back, so we'll stop our plugging of New Era and get back to it. Hopefully Bella doesn't scare you away again.
So you were talking about when you went to Battlefield after talking to Ricky Price, then you had a Battlefield show that you started talking about your concept at.
Right. So with that, went over there and asked the same people, or not the same people, but I asked over there the same question: should I do this? And everybody was super supportive of it. So I was like, you know what, let's do this. And I remember like thinking about it for a few days, and I was like, you know what, let's do it. And then that's when I messaged you guys and I was like, hey, you think we can do this at Country Club? And you guys said yeah. And then a few weeks later we had that sit down with Country Club, told them about the idea, and no pun intended, but they were all in for it. So yeah, and then we went from there. And it's crazy to think how long of a process this was, because
absolutely.
I've had this idea for like forever. Like it's been a few years now, but I never.
I'm glad that it finally came to fruition for you. That it was an amazing event.
I appreciate that, and I think I've watched the show multiple times now, because you guys know how crazy I was going that day. I was like, man, I had no time to watch anything that day. I've watched the matches back multiple times now, and I'm just like, wow, I really pulled this together. Like this happened. And biggest thanks goes to you guys, of course. I can't thank either one of you enough, because you guys were there during the meetings. You guys put time and effort into it to make sure I got graphics, everything, and I appreciate it. And
absolutely,
that means everything to me.
It's what you do for your family and for a good cause. You step up to the plate.
Yeah,
of course.
And it was a long road to get there. So we want to kind of tell the promoter story. So what was it like dealing with the talent and trying to make sure everybody got lined up? You had so much talent on your show because you had technically 3 shows. You had a mini show, a big show, and a bigger show, right? Well, how was it coordinating?
And no lying. This don't like sugarcoat shit. This is what this show is all about: is telling the truth, telling the dark things that happened and the dark shit that you dealt with trying to get this together.
Right. Well, the talent was easy to get. The top to bottom, I had no issues. Unfortunately, we had one small issue that arose the week of the show, which was, unfortunately, Tommy Vex's lawyer emailed me and said he wasn't going to be there. But that's another conversation. But no, the talent to get was easy. Like, there was no issues there. It was just the small things I was having problems with, you know. Like I keep saying it, getting referees there for a while was very hard. The ref was having a hard time getting refs. It was like weird.
Yeah,
and then getting chairs, and then getting the chairs. That took a long process. And then we finally got somebody that was like, "I'll bring the chairs." Why
don't we talk about how we almost didn't have a show because we almost didn't have a parking lot?
Happened because a certain somebody was like, "Oh, we're not gonna have wrestling here," and we're like, "Well, what the hell?" And man, shout outs to Country Club for this one, because Mike over at Country Club wants a bat for us, and he's like, "We're gonna have a show here. I don't give a fuck."
Absolutely.
And we
so
did
for
have
all
a show.
Of those who don't know, Country Club Brewing, amazing brewery, amazing family who owns this and all works there. They do not own the property. They do not own the building. They lease the building, and they do not own the parking lot. that is owned by somebody else who had originally given verbal permission for us to use the entire lot. When it had come down to the time for them to sign a legal contract, they were nowhere to be found until the week of the show. Then we heard from said person who said, we're going to give you half the lot. However, they did not notify the people who park in this lot that they should be moving their vehicles. So this show was done in a parking lot full of vehicles, and we had to figure something out.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing, right? Like, it was like, what are the odds? This all happened on my first show. Like, man, like, cars not being moved, and then a box got lit on fire somehow that nobody knows how that happened.
We still don't know. There was a church that
Yes.
the ring was next to, and somehow there was a burning box between the church and the ring.
Yes, and for most of the time I was there and I was filming, and how did I miss this?
Yeah, so it was like a weird first show, but you know what? We stuck it out, and it happened. And looking at the footage, looking at the pictures, everything looks amazing. And I'm just like, man, like most promoters would have been like, I can't do this. I'm not gonna lie. There was a few seconds that I was like, do I pull the plug? Like, do I do this?
It was more than a few seconds there, DQ. And John, I, and Deanna, who was working the bar, we were on your ass. We're like, hell no, you put so much into this. We're fucking gonna make it work no matter what.
No, and I appreciate that again. Like, and anybody that knows me knows, like, I had to do this show. You know, like anybody that knows me, I've talked about it openly now. I lost my mom to suicide, so I made this happen for her. And there was times that I did feel like giving up, but I was like, if I give up, then what does that accomplish?
Absolutely. Who's that going to help in the future?
Yeah.
Right.
And
especially because.
How much did we help, Dylan? How much did we help for suicide awareness?
A lot. We raised $1,000, which is insane to me. Like, I thought, I didn't even imagine the crowd. Like, I was like, man, we're not gonna. You know how it is. You guys know. As a promoter, you're like, yeah, we're not gonna draw. It's wrestling, and we were dealing with the first NFL Sunday, so there was a lot to deal with.
It really is. That was a lot of pressure on top of everything else.
Yep. So we dealt with. First, you dealt with putting together a huge, crazy card, right, and getting that done. And you've had, I've seen and heard on the Way to Wrestling shows, like different versions of the card, different matches you want it to have. So there's that. That's just crazy and hectic enough. Getting shirts made, making sure you have graphics and all that, but also making sure you have a place for the show. So that was the second big test. And then the third big test was as you were in the middle of the first show, or was it the pregame? Your main event might not have been there on time. So
still, even going into the first card, I think we were almost halfway through that first card, and you were still a little nervous.
Yeah. So Chris Bay, he's a busy man. We know that. He's all over the world. So he had a show the night before where he faced Donovan Dijak, and he was flying in from Washington, and his first flight got delayed. And he didn't text me. He didn't tell me this. But Ricky Price was the one that was like, hey, just so you know, this is what's going on. And I'm like, oh, great. If he doesn't show up, what are we going to do? But luckily, it was one of those things. Everything happened that day for a reason. Like, they pulled together. He showed up. He got there. Absolutely. And he killed it.
Man, that match was, no pun intended, but that was fire. It was a great match. You had ABC, at that time they were the current TNA tag team champions, against Smash's own Smash and Burn, who are a fairly new tag group, and they put on magic.
And don't forget, you can watch all these matches right now. Party Cam cut on 570 Wrestling Experience on YouTube. They're all there. Fun fact, very close to the main event in views right now is, Lindsey, you know the answer. Dylan, guess.
Close to the main event in views?
Close to the main event in views.
From just that show alone?
From the entire day.
What's close. Well, the triple threat, the women's triple threat, right?
It was not. It's Scott Sable versus Dyson Bennett.
Wow.
From the pre-show.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
And I think from start to finish, it was maybe only a 5-minute match because they went out and they just killed it.
Yep. And you could view the women's triple threat, which featured Tiffany Grady, Riley Crow, and Journey Burke Esquire. Of course, that's leading in total views right now. But the two runner-ups are the main event and Dyson and Scott Sable. So good on Dyson and Scott Sable. And that was from the pre-show.
Yeah.
So, you never know. You never know.
Backstory to that match. So there was supposed to be a different match. XANDER and Dyson were supposed to face each other on that day.
Mm-hmm.
Some things happened, so we threw in Dyson versus Scott Sable, and we had Philly Playboy versus XANDER.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Both those matches absolutely killed it. I mean, top to bottom, I'll keep saying it. That card overall was amazing to watch.
Let me tell you, those fans that you had there, they were fierce. They were calling Playboy some pretty nasty things there.
They were. Hey, that's what happens, right? Like,
yeah.
I had this Battlefield fans. I had the Smash fans. I had fans that only came because they love TNA.
Absolutely.
It was crazy. But yeah, no, and I keep saying it too. Any of these matches could have main evented anywhere else in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
absolutely.
And you brought it here to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, at Country Club Brewing.
Yep.
And I said too previously, it was Chris Bay's first time in the Lehigh Valley ever. First time competing in the Lehigh Valley. And then you have Ace Austin, first time he represented the Bull Club in the Lehigh Valley. There's so much history made that day. It's still insane to think about.
Absolutely insane. So we promised a short form wrestling podcast. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch to a quick video. This is a clip from the upcoming episode of On the Road Phantom 6. And after I play this, I want you to tell me what for your first thoughts come to mind. Here we go.
What a save. Barely a save from Riley Crow. As what we can see here from our footage. Or not even our footage.
What's the reaction?
Wow. I don't know. It's still surreal.
Mine is, what the hell is Zach doing at the commentary table?
Who gave ZACK a microphone?
Seriously.
Hey, you know what? I did tell ABJ, because I gave you guys really no direction on commentary. I almost the whole show I let everybody do their thing. But I told ABJ afterwards, he messaged me about how he had different people on there, and I was like, that's what I kind of wanted anyways. It gave us that old school PWG feel, the Jakara feel, because you never you had one set commentary on both that shows, but then you had your wrestlers fill in and commentate, which is crazy.
Oh, absolutely. It gives a whole different aspect to the commentating team and what you're hearing and getting all this different insight from different people.
Yeah, it's insane.
For sure. And I got another clip for you. And then comes an important question after that. Here we go. Again, this is from your next episode of On the Road, in production now. There's the God Maker, Dylan Quinn.
What is it?
You're the God Maker.
I am not. Never again. Never booking again. A lot of stress. I'm just here so I don't get fined.
So, Dylan, the question everybody wants to know, never again. Is Phantom 6 one and done, or will there be an again?
Ooh.
There will be again. At that time, all the stress is getting to me, but we will. I'll break some news here. We are going to run again. And I'm also going to break some more news. All In Together 2 is going to happen. We're going to make All In Together a yearly event as long as I'm alive and kicking. But we're going to make this a yearly event. So, yes, there will be another show. I'll break some more news on here. We're looking at February for our next date. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that works out. And then we will be breaking some more news eventually. But right now, it's just trying to secure a venue for us, which, because it's too cold to run our country club again. So there will be a part 2. And
then is the part 2 going to be in February, or will this be a different type of event?
So February right now, and we're in talks to maybe do something even sooner than that. But February is one date that I'm 100% behind. But there may be a little preview before then.
All
We'll
right.
see. Keep your eyes locked in on Phantom Six's social media, my social media, and we may be breaking.
Oh, what are we going to be breaking, Dylan,
He's
besides
back.
the internet?
Phantom
Maybe, I
disappeared.
don't know. Hey, you know what? In February, depending on what happens, we might be breaking the internet, or even before then. So we'll see
Oh,
what
yes.
happens.
Oh, yes, I'm all about it. I will be all hands in, just like I was for your first show.
We'll be all in together.
Yes.
Or is it? I pitched the name All In Together. I didn't mean you have to like it. I just pitched it because why
That's
not?
creative.
All right. So wrapping up the last question, Dylan. What is your final advice for first-time promoters?
Ooh.
Somebody who wants to be a wrestling promoter, and maybe talk them into it, maybe talk them out of it. It's up to you.
I mean, first and foremost, if you're going to be a promoter, do not expect to make anything back in this game. That's number one. You are going to lose so much money, but if you want to have a good company, it's worth it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to tell you not to do it because, we all have dreams. We all have aspirations. Just be prepared to probably lose a lot of hair and maybe you get a lot of gray hair if you don't have it already.
There's another promoter out there that says, well, we might lose our ass on this one.
Yes.
And that explains it very well.
Right. And last and foremost, just make sure you have a good team around you. Make sure the people that are on either your roster or on your side are the right people. Don't let somebody in that's just going to take everything from you and make it a bad thing.
Yeah.
Make sure you have the right people behind you. I can 100% say I had an amazing group behind me. It started with JS Michaels. It started with Lindsey. I'm going to keep putting them over. And just everybody else that was there, man.
Yeah.
Everybody pulled it together for me, and I can't thank anybody enough. So just make sure you have a right team behind you.
I can absolutely agree to that.
And also just make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Don't just do it to do it. Make sure you're doing it for the right reasons.
Heck yeah. And you certainly picked a great reason. Like you said, it's over $1,000 raised for suicide prevention awareness in the Lehigh Valley. So that was the NAMI Lehigh Valley. So huge thing you did for the community there, Dylan. Bethlehem thanks you. And I think people are taking notice, and that's a good thing. So we're going to wrap up with just a few plugs. By the way, we'll be hanging out with DQ this weekend when we head to New Era. Again, that's I got to click this thing over here. New Era Hotel Havoc. The Phantom disappeared again. New Era Hotel Havoc. And
bring that up one more time. Wait, who is that one guy over there? The think tank. Didn't we just see him on a special television show last night?
Think tank. Just saying.
Hey, you know what? Before we wrap this too, I'm just gonna take some pride. All right, we had guys on Phantom 6 that were just at AEW this weekend.
Yes, they were.
Yesterday. We also had PWI representatives, man. So I'm just gonna take a little pride in that.
You should. You absolutely should. And I take a lot of pride because I've worked with most of these young men who have developed immensely over the last year and a half. So to see them to get that email, to get that invitation, and not just to be able to show up, but to have a part on the show.
Man.
Absolutely.
It's still fucking Luca Mancini. Just kidding. He knows I love him. And
Luca Mancini. We had Fletcher Young. We had Marcus Mathers. All
JD
representing.
Inc.
Yeah. JD Inc., who's been, we'll get into that story later. Maybe we'll have him on a future podcast.
Absolutely.
To see, how everything changed for him in a matter of 6 months or less. So even if you're struggling, hang in there, folks. That's a good message. You can turn things around. You will turn things around. And hopefully when Lindsey drives us to New Era, she doesn't turn the car around because we're planning that live show that we were talking about. Also, after that, we have our friends at Smashmaster Wrestling in October. That's October.
I believe it's the 6th, October
6th. Smash Monster 3 at Voodoo Brewing. It's always crazy show at Voodoo. And then we got some things going on here, but especially a sale. So remember, you get your free shipping. Let's see if this fancy thing works. From 570wrestlingshop.com with promo code Smash Club. So type that Smash Club in, screenshot it, go steal my money, get shirts, wear shirts. They're awesome shirts. I don't make anything off shirts. I might as well be a wrestling promoter. I make nothing off of nothing and lose everything all the time. So, except for my keys.
Losing your ass.
Losing my ass. But what I'm not losing my ass about is the fact that we have brought back the podcast. Woo! We've had DQ as our first guest.
Yes.
This is the 570 Party Pod. We are the 570 Wrestling Experience. It's not the 570 Potty Pod, Lindsay. It's the 570 Wrestling Party Pod. We're going to have a lot more of these. We're going to keep them as short as we can, interview cool people like Dylan and all of our other friends in our 570 Wrestling community. And don't forget, final plug, On the Road, it's coming out soon. Watch on YouTube. We will see you next time. Don't forget to party, like, follow, and subscribe. Let's beat those motherfucking algorithms. Let's go.
Yes.